lifting this thing mandate?
Right now.
March 7th, I think. March
Next
7th.
month?
yourself.
Inshallah. They don't ban you or something?
No.
No? Oh man. But it is still mandatory by
For
the
now,
rules, right?
Yeah,
So
for now.
we'll try to follow the rules, Try.
Well, I appreciate the hospitality. Very nice of you.
Okay, we're gonna try to review a little bit before we begin. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So what we're covering and we're going to attempt to cover before finals is Wudu and Salah. I can tell you right now it's an undertaking, especially Salah. And it depends on how detailed you want to go into, by the way. So if you want me to explain what you see out there, how different people are praying and all that, it's going to take a while. If you want me to just tell you how I pray, that doesn't really help you, I think. Because maybe some of you don't want to pray that way. Or maybe you were taught a different way and you feel that's a stronger opinion. For me, yeah, by default I studied the Shafi'i madhab, but I branch out where I see that the evidence is stronger in the other direction. So that's the way I try to live my life. Wherever we find the strongest evidence, we try to abide by it because I think that's most in line with what the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted. It was never intended to be that school versus this school versus one scholar's opinion. What we should always strive for when you're studying the jurisprudence in particular is you want to aim for the opinion that we're hoping is closest to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But in that process, there's research, okay? There's ijtihad. And in the same narration, which you'll come and find, some scholars understood it one way, other scholars understood it another way. One of them is definitely correct. The others are wrong, for sure. But what did Allah Azza wa Jalla say? That all of them are rewarded. They're all rewarded. One reward for the effort they put into looking up the research and trying to arrive to the conclusion that Allah intended. But the one who got and arrived at the right conclusion, they're the ones who get a second reward because they arrived to the conclusion that Allah wanted, intended. So what we say is that we have a tolerance and for the differences of opinion. So when you see that some scholars, which is going to be a topic today, is going to be quite a variation of opinions because today we're covering najasa. We're covering the things that are impurities. Last week we covered the types of water you can use, right? We mentioned that. So let me ask, what is the rule of thumb regarding water we can use? We said there's a underlying litmus test. What is it? Yes?
The taste, the smell, and the color.
Okay, that's the rule regarding the water we find. But generally speaking, you're right. That's once we come across water, as long as it hasn't altered in those three categories: the smell, taste, and color.
All natural water is okay.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. All natural water found on earth, you're allowed to make wudu with it. You're allowed to make wudu and ghusl. You can use it for ritual purification. I'm just going to mute this guy if I don't. Yeah, seawater is one of them. You can actually make wudu and ghusl with seawater. You're going to have a little dry skin there, but you can, right? Yes, you can. Absolutely. We mentioned carbonated water. Anybody think about that? Carbonated water. It's naturally found on earth. You can do that. So what if I had some seltzer water? That was the only thing I had. Time for wudu. The water pipes shut off. There was a freeze. Some water bursted. What am I going to do? Can I make wudu with my seltzer water? Yeah. See, you forgot to ask what flavor is it. Oh, you messed up. If it was the original, no flavor added, go right ahead. You see? Big mistake. That's what I was looking for. I'd be the worst professor, I'll tell you. I'm not kidding. I'd put those questions in there, that'll get you. And then I was like, you didn't pay attention. Yeah, I hated those professors, but I feel like I would be one of those. which is not good, huh?
You didn't give us enough time to ask.
And I would never give a curve. I would never. I'd be that guy. You got the. How many of you are EE students? No one? That's it? We abandoned the manger? I was the last of them.
Hadi was here.
Who? We have one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What year is he in?
Freshman.
Oh, then I won't scare him. Let's leave him alone. Man, there's one class. It's called electromagnetic fields, just so you know. Most electrical engineering majors switch majors after that class. Most of them, I'm not kidding. Electromagnetic fields. Is that the guy?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah, that class, most people switch. You know what the average on the exam is on that class?
18.
No, yeah. How did you know?
I used to be one.
You were EE and you left?
Yeah.
See? You see? You took electromagnetic fields?
No.
So what are you talking about?
I just guessed.
Oh, well, it was, by the way. He's not right. He's not wrong. I got a 20, and he said, good job. I swear to Allah. I couldn't believe this. And then, you know, he wanted to motivate us after the first, his name is Edip Navir. Muslim, by the way. Muslim guy. Turkish, born in, I think, like Russia, studied in China, and then I don't know where else. So it was crazy. He's had all sorts of patents. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but let me tell you something. He tried to motivate us for the second exam. We all failed the first one, right? We got 15, somebody got 6, somebody got 7, and that was a C. You're doing okay. You just got to try a little harder. So he tried to motivate us for the second exam. He says, listen, before we start studying for the second exam, I'm going to tell you there was only 3 students in the entire history I've been teaching this class, a very old man, that ever got 100 on my exam. Only 3. He said one of them went on to invent the F-16.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he said the other guy invented the Motorola Razor. He said the other guy invented the Keurig. You know the guy who invented the Keurig is an NJIT grad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was one of his students. He said those 3. He said, so you see? He said, this is motivate you to score 100 so you can become a multimillionaire. Yeah.
In Turkey, the way they make exams is like you're not expected to get out like a 60 or 70 because they're so hard.
They purposely do it that way. This is where he came from.
So
You
maybe,
see?
yeah, that's what.
There you go. Now it's A and A equals B. So, well, here's the thing. Well, he thought he motivated us, by the way. We all failed worse. We gave up because it was worse. It was terrible. It's just hilarious. Anyhow, back to what we were talking about. Right. So anything naturally found, any natural water found on earth, you can make wudu or ghusl with. You can use it for ritual, for spiritual purification. Okay. We also mentioned that quantities. We mentioned quantities of water, right? We mentioned that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what minimum amount?
Like 350 liters?
Yeah, well, the Rasul didn't say 350 liters. We want his statement, which is? No?
No, 2 khullah?
Good job. 2 qullah. 2 qullah is he said, any amount of water above 2 qullah will never become impure. It's too big of an amount of water. Too big of an amount of water, okay? And what did we say? Some scholars took that literally, right? Remember what we said? Some said, oh, here's the 350 liters, here's the multiplication, here's what we're looking at. Some scholars didn't take it literally, such as the Maliki scholars, right? They said, no, he didn't mean it exactly. And, you know, there's some logic behind that. There is, right? Well, if you were to support the Maliki position right now, where he said he didn't mean, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't intend to be exactly 2 qullah, what would you say if you wanted to support the Maliki position?
I'd say that like there was no type of way he could have measured it, so like.
There you go. What are you gonna do? What if it was 1.9? What do you do there? Oh, let's do the smell it, taste it, and we're gonna, smell, taste, and then color. We're gonna do the test. It fell short of 2. You get what we're saying? How do you even measure that? You just pump it out, guys. Let's go. It's your turn. Take shifts. You see, this is what he's thinking. There's practicality to the side. But you see, some other scholars, which is the majority now, this is the majority of scholars, they came back and said, well, 2 qullah, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wouldn't say something if it wasn't for a meaning. If it didn't have meaning, right? So that's why I said, out of respect to the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we're going to stick with the 2. We're going to stick with that. You see how both of them have that understanding, right? And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that we can benefit from their research and that, you come across a large body of water, we're in good shape. And we say alhamdulillah, by the way, that you guys have running water. The tap water. You know the Arabic name for it? You know the Arabic name for a faucet water? Nobody?
How do you say it?
In Arabic, it's called Hanafiya. Do you know why? Do you know why it's called that? Because when water was piped into homes, the majority of scholars said you can't make wudu with that. The Hanafi position said you can. So they call, you're a Hanafiya. They named it after them. And now everybody uses it, interestingly enough. Power to those folks, yeah? Huh?
For the large body of water measurement, we were saying that like if the ripple doesn't get the other side, it's large enough.
Well, we didn't say that. Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, he said that because the hadith of two qullah didn't reach him. You see, remember what we said. That was another thing, right? When we're going to be differentiating. That's why you'll see a lot of the three schools on one side, Hanafi position, sometimes is on another side. So what did we say? What was the reason for that? What was the reason that Abu Hanifa sometimes didn't have the same opinion as the Jumhur, as the majority? We mentioned, right? What area was Abu Hanifa in? This is important, guys. You have to understand this, right? Because this is where the logic comes in. They didn't all sit in a room and flip coins and see, debate like we got going on today. Yeah. From Iraq, exactly. And so the problem with this in Iraq is there was a lot of untrustworthy people. They used to make fun of the area. That if one hadith enters Iraq, 100 versions come out. That's how messed up it was. There's another reason too. Anybody in here Shi'i? Before I offend you? Well, you shouldn't get offended. It's part of your history. Wave your flag and say, yes, proud and Ali is tattooed on me. But whatever. I don't care. I'll tell you this much. Hey, so it is what it is. This is what happened there's some groups in their system that they find it okay to not say the hadith exactly, as long as what you intended is the idea is there. So it was okay as long as it was going to benefit people in the religion. So that's what happened, you see? That's what happened in that area. A lot of this idea would spread that way. That, you can say something, but as long as it's going to benefit the people, and it has some basis in the religion. Well, can we do that? In our Aqidah, we're not allowed to do that. We don't do that at all, right? Okay? So that's the reason that he was in an area. That's the reason, by the way, you find Abu Hanifa. That's why on an academic level, I don't know how excited you are to look it up, but that's why you find Abu Hanifa rejecting a lot of ahad hadith. This is what does that even mean? We can get into this. See, by the way, this is big topic. A lot to talk about. Ahad hadith is where there's an absolutely authentic singular report to the Prophet ﷺ. Mutawatir is where there are multiple reports at many levels. What levels are we talking about? Generations of people, right? And it was such a perfectly designed system. Allah did that for us because He said He's going to preserve the religion. He mentioned that in the Quran, didn't He? And the way Allah preserved that religion is through isnad, the concept of isnad. We mentioned that, right? Now, the riwayah, I heard. And so you have a riwayah in Egypt, you have a riwayah in Sham, you have a riwayah in Medina, you have all of these different chains of narration with people who couldn't have met each other. And it's impossible that they have colluded at a time, 250 years after the Prophet ﷺ died, to exactly come up with the same statements he said. Even at the academic level, at the Ivy League schools, they said this system couldn't be proven false. They said that. Still don't believe, though. But anyhow, they said that. You see, that's interesting, right? Very interesting. Anyhow, we mentioned... all right, so now let's cover today. I think that's enough about last week. Impurities. What we're talking about are things that have to be cleaned before you can make a prayer, before you can pray. Right? Before you're in a state of prayer or tahara. So, first things we have to talk about is different types of carrion, which is meitat. The animal of a dead body. How do we define that quickly? Some scholars said, it's any animal that dies by itself. Some scholars said that. Any animal that dies by itself. Other scholars said any animal that dies without proper slaughter. without proper slaughter. You'll see why that's a key difference. That's a key difference. You'll see that later on, towards the end, we're going to cover why some scholars allow you to wear pig leather. Leather, pig skin leather. So, anybody ever wear pig skin? Shame yourself. Raise your hand. No?
What if you caught a football?
Yeah, what if football was your fault?
What? Wait.
I don't catch football. How about shoes? How about shoes? Because a lot of shoes have big skin leather. And
A lot of shoes.
Sometimes we're not aware.
Well.
He's a sneakerhead.
Not being aware, FYI, is not an excuse.
No, of course.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure you know.
So is pig skin leather, is someone allowed to wear or play with it?
We're gonna go over that. But you see, but this will help you understand why there's an underlying difference, right? What are the exceptions? Exceptions in this regard: sea animals, any sea animals that die even on their own, you can eat them. You can eat them. Even there was one, as long as they're not harmful to you. There's a little exception there, a little asterisk. As long as it's not harmful to you. There is, even though at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a massive whale that died, and its body went off to shore, on the shore. And they said it was so big. They asked the Prophet ﷺ if they could eat from it. The Prophet ﷺ said yes. It was so big. The companion said we rode our horses through the ribs once it was all gone, the flesh of it. That's how big this whale was, right? And who knows where it blew in? Maybe from the ocean, and then it came through the Mediterranean, somewhere around there. Anyhow, moving along here. And then the second exception is the jarad. The jarad in English is the locust. The locust. I mean, I'm disgusted by that, but some people will love it. They really do. It's like a family of the grasshopper. You ever see it? By the way, they got these, I don't know how to go into it, But anyhow, you can look into that. And so some of the scholars also said that it's not restricted to the locust. It's also any insects that do not have flowing blood. That do not have flowing blood. Anybody eat escargot? That's snails. Yeah? It's good.
It's a delicacy in Morocco.
Are you from Morocco?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? One of my teachers from Al-Maghrib. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you like it?
Not specifically.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
It's a little.
You had it before? You had snails?
Yeah, I've tried it.
Did you know it was even halal before you ate it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. You checked. You Googled it?
I don't know, my parents.
Yeah?
I've heard eating honeybees first.
Huh?
Honeybees.
What do you say?
Honeybees.
Pretty sure it's fine.
What do you say? Honeybees?
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Honeybees? People eat honeybees?
I'm just asking, but they just collect nectar and everything.
I've never heard of anybody eating honeybees.
Yeah, what if you just...
Well, is it harmful for you? I don't know. You eat that stinger. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. If I don't know an answer, I don't make stuff up. I don't know. But, I don't know. Are you trying to do Survivor or something?
Just asking.
Oh, you're just asking because you never know. All right. Sure. Listen to this very important qaida. Why some scholars said no, it's restricted to the locust. Other scholars said no, it's extended to any insects that don't have flowing blood. The Prophet ﷺ said two things that die without slaughter that are halal for you to eat. He said fish and locust. Who can take from that narration of the Prophet ﷺ? There's two things, very important things I want you to take from. Three that you could take from that narration. See, when I say something, when I quote an ayah in the Quran, when I quote the Prophet ﷺ, I don't want you to say, oh, he said so, he said. I want you to think. Gotta create, brain cap gotta come on. Prophet ﷺ said two things. He said, that die without slaughter are halal for you to eat, fish and locust. Somebody tell me, what can you extract from this hadith? You gotta try to be like mini scholars here.
I mean, so I feel like some people would try to extract more stuff than it is, but I take it for a word.
So you said just fish and locusts. We're done.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah.
So,
And then we'll come to the back. Yep.
so he said, my argument would be he might have not known that there were other insects that don't have blood flowing through them.
So what are you saying? What are you
So,
telling me?
and then in the other case, so only fish, but he was allowed to eat a whale, for example.
Huh?
So, it could-
So what are you extracting?
It can be expanded to things of the same, what's the phyloid?
Category.
Yeah.
Species category. So you're saying the Rasul ﷺ said fish generally. Then we have a narration that says a whale. So he was talking about a category. Spot on. That's what they said. They said when he said locust, he was speaking about two categories. So the locust is the most famous one amongst Arab. He was speaking about anything else that they did. What about ants? There's a thing now to eat ants. There's people. People that eat ants. They say they don't eat chicken anymore. They get their protein from ants. They're weird. They're very weird. But I'll tell you, if that's your thing, if ants are your thing, that's just nasty. But that's your thing, you can do that. But anyhow, so yes, you see, you can expand it. Okay, one other thing I'm looking for. One other thing. Yeah, you had it or you had it?
I was gonna go somewhat like Osman said.
Okay,
Could you
plus one.
expand it because locusts are technically grasshoppers as well.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it could be, it's still.
So instead of non-blood blood
I guess
flow, yeah.
for like fish, I think you can go to say like anything that comes out of the sea and like shrimp and things and clam and things like that as well. I don't know, because some of that stuff is down to like some methods. But
Yeah, we'll cover that. But see, I could get into that. You guys will be in love, and then the bihana, you know. But that's not this. Maybe next semester. Who graduates this semester? Well, you don't get it then. But anyhow, so what happens here is the word slaughter is what I'm looking for, folks. Were you guys going to say that? Anybody there? No. Slaughter. See, I want you to understand. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said two things that die without slaughter. Dhabh, right? Why is that important? Why do you think that's important?
Is there anything else that dies without slaughter is haram?
Hang on, you're almost there. See, there's two opinions here. One of them said, remember what we said? Anything that dies, the people who said anything that dies, period, is meita. What we added, which we seem is the stronger opinion, I believe personally, because the Prophet ﷺ said anything that you have not, these two things that you have not slaughtered. So the things that we're allowed to slaughter are things that we can eat. You caught that point?
Yeah.
So if something we cannot slaughter, that we cannot eat, is it in this category? No. So why would a pig be included? Because we can never slaughter a pig. No matter what you do, you say Bismillah 100 times. It doesn't matter. The pig's the pig. You can't eat it. Right? A tiger. You can go to town on the tiger, you still can't eat it. Doesn't matter. You see these things? Now that's a very important word of the Prophet ﷺ. You see what I'm saying now? But the other scholars said, well, meita is meita. It just dies on its own. You see? Some of them said that. But what I say is that, and some of the scholars also, they said, no, this hadith clarifies what meita is. Because he specifically said, pretty much anything that dies without slaughter, right? Without slaughter, you can't have it. Can't eat it. But he said the two things that are halal for you that die without slaughter, which is, see, again, you could go either way. We could go either way, but nonetheless, I wanted to show you that history and why they differed. Okay, so now the skins of animals, okay? The skin of animal has been cleansed. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned this to us. He said, any skin of an animal that has been cleansed and tanned, فَقَدْ طَهَرَ. He said, you can wear it, pray with it, everything. قَدْ طَهَرَ. That's a statement, another statement, blanket statement of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now what happened just now, guys? The folks who said we could use pig skin, oh, they got a qaida here. They got some evidence. Because he said any animal, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, any animal that has been cleaned, the skin has been, because it's a process. You ever see tanning of the skin? You Google it. It comes up. It's cleansed and tanned فَقَدْ طَهَرَ, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. So now you understand, okay? Wow, we start really late today, huh? Oh, sorry. Next week we'll start earlier, inshallah. Okay, so things like alligator skin, snake skin, any skin from an animal that was killed or that died without slaughter. Anyhow, this they said if you clean the skin and you tan it, you could use it. That includes pig skin. That's where those scholars come from. That's why you see some people debating about that. If you ask me, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it. Because it seems very clear from the other hadith, where he said the word slaughter. Okay? You caught that part? All right, good. Anyhow, but now you understand where that comes from. That's why, by the way, you know some of those very expensive rugs that have like they're made out of bear fur and all this stuff? You know, if you follow the opinion I follow, you actually can't have that in your house. Yeah, you can't have that. You can't, because that thing is najis. If it was tiger skin. And you know what? You know, on a side note, we're helping out because these animals are endangered anyway. You see, but by the way, that has nothing to do with fiqh. I don't want you to start waving the animal flags with me. But what I'm trying to tell you, that's just on a side note. We shouldn't be doing that anyway. But anyhow, aside from the side note, if you cared about opinion number one, you're like, listen, pal, you do what you want to do. I'm a hunter. I hunt. I got my shotgun, and if I see a mountain lion and it's not endangered and I'm allowed to shoot it, I'm shooting it. And I'm gonna gut that thing and make a nice rug out of him. Do what you want. All right? But I'm just telling you. Yes, and then yes.
I'm confused on the specific, the bear, the tiger, whatnot. Like, would that include like sheep as well, like those type of rugs? Any type
No.
of-
We specifically said animals. Oh, so you guys don't know about, that's a whole other subject. So food that you're allowed to eat, just quickly, you're not allowed to eat an animal that has that has the fangs, the canines, and the fangs, the claws. You know, like
Does that also refer to, does that pretty much?
talons. Sorry, talons.
Does that pretty much mean you can't eat carnivores?
Yeah, correct. So we cannot eat tigers. We can't eat lions. We can't eat bear. Any of that
Like
business.
cats and dogs as well.
That's from a different narration, but yes, exactly. Some scholars actually allowed the dog in times of need. Yeah, we're not talking about food, guys, because if we start that subject, we're never going to finish. Okay, I think we're going to have to stop here so we can pray Maghrib. I'm sorry I came late. The traffic just, is just not good. It kept saying you're going to be there this time, and it just kept adding. So next week, bi'idhnillah, we'll continue. Hopefully, we'll start on time. Is everybody still good with 5 o'clock for Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah? Everybody was here, except me? And then, okay, so we'll start with the blood. We'll start with blood next week. If somebody reminds me, we'll start with blood next week. And by the way, just on a side note, because I don't like to offend anybody. So you have a best friend who's Shi'i or something like that. I have friends who are Shi'i. I'm serious too, very good, nice people. But it's just a side note because their fiqh sometimes is a little interesting. So don't take heart to that, yeah. Nobody take heart to that because we love them. And by the way, on a general scale, alhamdulillah, they're still Muslim and they pray in our qibla like the Prophet ﷺ said. They fast on Ramadan. But you like to knock on people a little bit. We used to do that in Sharia school. The Malikis would knock on us and we would knock on the Hanafis. We all have exchange, a little fun. But I hope nobody took offense to that. If you did, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. All right. Anyhow, any questions? I just like to, clear the air so nobody
I
gets.
have a general question. So, like, when you pick like a method, don't you have to like stick to those views for everything?
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. So the answer to that is that if you are a layman and you are studying with your teacher, you go to your local masjid, then yeah, because you don't know the wiser. But once you become a talib ilm, a student of knowledge, and you study the madhab completely, your process, some of the scholars said, was to study one madhab complete, and that's so that you have a general foundation for the general discussion of different things. Because even when you study a madhab itself, there's differences of opinion within the madhab. It's not like they all united and saying kumbaya on this particular point. There's like 10 opinions, even in one subject sometimes, 3, 4. And it's like the stronger, the more clear, zahir, ashad, or, etc. Anyhow, so yeah, even within there, you'll find that there's differences. But if you're sitting there telling me, hey, I don't know any better, but for me, I know that this is an acceptable, see? Just so you know quickly, and we'll stop with that. There's 2 types of khilaf. Khilaf tadad and khilaf tanawwu. Some of them are allowed, acceptable differences of opinion. Others are not. Difference of opinion saying what time, arrange, that's a bad one, Okay, the slaughtering, right, of the animal is the tasmiyah required, not acceptable difference of opinion. Somebody saying, hey, pig's halal tomorrow. No. You got that? I don't care where you came up with your evidence. This one is on the side over here. This one is within the realm, right? The Venn diagram, right? It overlaps. We're okay. So the answer to short answer is safer side. If you don't have the time to research and study, yeah, stick with your teacher. You can continue. But the moment that evidence comes to you, and you find that the Prophet ﷺ told you to do this particular thing, and your teacher was doing this other way, if you ask me, you should not be doing that, because now the knowledge reached you. You know, how are you going to meet Allah Azza wa Jal on the Day of Judgment and He says, hey, did you do this particular sunnah? You know, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, for the one who's bakhil, a cheapskate, that can't say the salawat on my name when he heard my name in the dunya, when he passes by me in the akhirah, his face would turn red from embarrassment, from how honored that man is. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You see? So you're going to meet Allah. Yeah, Allah, yeah, I heard that the Prophet ﷺ told us to do this. But, you know, my teacher, I was with Madhab X. We didn't do that. See? It doesn't make sense, right? The Rasul ﷺ was the one who taught us how to follow this religion and worship Allah if it reached you authentically. And in your heart, you say, wow, you know, like, the evidence is right there. You should start following that 100%. Okay? But by default, if you're just learning from your teacher and you're continuing that route, keep doing that.
Because like in the Hanafi method, like Asr starts like an hour later than the other methods, and like if one day you wanted to like pray in like before the hour, if you're Hanafi and you wanted to pray before that, like it's fine.
So here's the interesting thing about that as well. You know, I don't want to get, I don't know if we reach that or cover it. The times of Salah, that is one of the earlier parts of the subject. But even there's a difference of opinion between Al-Qadi Yusuf and Abu Muhammad al-Shaybani. They disagreed. Yeah, they disagreed. The two students or the companions, whatever they call them, Abu Hanifa. So we're going to go over that, right? But some of it is not so clear. Some of it is. We'll cover that inshallah. Yeah. Any other questions? I think we need to wrap up though. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Next week inshallah, same time and place, and we'll start with blood. So if somebody can remind me about that, that would be great.
Inshallah.
And I apologize for coming late. Inshallah, next week it won't be the case.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.